Yeah, tonight we ought to talk about tonight we ought to talk about astrology versus astronomy. Now, first of all, astrology versus astronomy. Now, we have to talk about Babylon. In Babylon, there was a there's a temple, the Temple of Bel or Baal. It's been there had been there for many years, many years, in about, say, the 5th century BC. Well, Herodotus talks about the Babylonians. Herodotus has an interesting, Strabo, actually. Strabo actually has more information about what he calls the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans were the resident astronomers who lived in Babylon. And there was a great deal of them. Apparently there's quite a heterogeneous school. There's different people. There was, there's people who made observations, and there are quite a number of discovered tablets, astronomical data tablets, found from Babylon in cuneiform, and they've been cuneiform. They've been found, and they've been very interesting from a point of biblical studies, because they've been dated. They've been useful at dating contemporaneous historical events from the Bible or the local region, from Greek history, Iranian history, and typically a Babylonian astronomical tablet would have the date, the year, the month, the day of the month of the year of the king. So Nebuchadnezzar saying, and they would talk about where the planets were on the ecliptic, or they had their own version of the zodiac. So they took at where the planets and the moon and the sun were in the zodiac. And having done that, they talk about if something remarkable happened, like a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse or something. Then what they do is they would now, for some reason, well, it's, some priests of Baal apparently boasted that the Babylonian astronomical records went back thousands of years. Now, anyway, what they did actually, about the time, well, around the middle of the first millennium BC, it was the thing to do was to have a whole list of what was happening at the time on Earth on the day of the tablet. And so there was they made records. There was a flood, or flocks of geese came through, or there was a plague in the chickens, or someone's goat escaped, or endless things like this, and all kinds of. And in those sort of asides at the end of the tablet, they're quite interesting because, for example, the death of Alexander the Great is recorded on one of the tablets, which is fairly useful in fixing the date of Alexander the Great's death with some certainty. So these notes in passing on the end of the tablet, which were, talked about historical events, there's another one that records the defeat of Darius at Guadalajara. It's in the movie Alexander the Great. Anyway, so it's the question is, it's fairly murky to discover the origins of this idea that the planets affected what was going on Earth. There's all kinds of mystical, esoteric theories about how the planets affect the Earth. Well, the theory of gravity doesn't really provide any support to that, because the moon, for example, does affect the tides, but the other planets, by contrast, do not actually affect the Earth as much as the moon, because they're so far away. Their gravitational field is quite weak, and so it's to be noted that the orbits of most of the planets are ellipses, and ellipses are a conic section. And in applied mathematics, there's a theorem that a lone particle moving in a central force field its orbit will be the shape of a conic section, and one conic section is in fact an ellipse. Now, so prima facie, the planets rotate about the sun, and pretty much as though no other planets existed. The gravitational field of one planet doesn't really affect the orbit of another planet, which is you can prove it. I will later on. I'll get an actual mathematical demonstration of it, in fact. But anyway, the modern theory of gravity doesn't give any support to the idea that there's going to be some kind of occult influence of the planets on the Earth. If you imagined an Earth-centered solar system, then you might say there's some kind of, and you had crystal spheres, and Mercury and Mars and Venus and the Moon and the Sun were in their spheres, and if you had some kind of Platonic cosmology, which some people think originated in Babylon, you could posit some theory about influence of the planets on the weather or something. But anyway, the priests of the Temple of Baal boasted that they had many thousands of years of observation, which cuneiform records go back to the Sumerians in about around roughly 3000 BC. So that argument you can take or leave it. The real thing is it ought to be pointed out that there's a circular argument in people who argue for astrology. You can say we spent thousands of years looking for evidence of planetary influence on the Earth. Okay, what? and they've got thousands of years of observations, but that may not actually be anything. I mean, in mathematics, you can have a time series, and data, the signal goes up and down, up and down, up and down, in any way, in any particular way, or any way it was, and trying to find some kind of pattern in the time series is it's anyone's guess. I mean, the problem is with in general, when Fourier made the argument, if you get a finite signal, you can always do a Fourier transform on a finite piece of stuff, and you'll get a Fourier series. Now, but anyway, but you may get a Fourier series, and you may get certain harmonics, but those harmonics may not really, square with the periods of the planets or something. So it's really quite trying to say. I mean, the analogy today, I would draw an analogy. Like somebody today sitting around with stock market data going back 100 years and trying to figure out if the planets, trying to do, Fourier transforms and things on the data, on the stock market data, to try and work out whether the planets are influencing the stock market. I mean, good luck with that. No, I mean, I don't know anyone who's done that. So, I'm simply going to point out that even though you might look for something very hard for many years, it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to find something. So, anyway, this vague idea of the planets affecting fate of men or something, I mean, according to Strabo, apparently, in the 5th century, about the 5th century, around the 3rd, 4th century BC, you could find people in Babylon, in the Temple of Baal, who would do horoscopes. That actually, basically do a horoscope, make predictions of your life based on the date of your birth. So, this sort of hijinks are quite ancient. But as I'm trying to point out, it's quite weak. Modern science has shown that the conceptual, theoretical motivation for astrology is really quite weak. And I'll have to leave it.